Okay, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Energy Captains. I'm here with the greatest co-host ever, Whitney Holtzman, who just got married recently. Whitney, how you feeling? You have a new last name here on the title, the lower third. What's that life like, the married life?
It's totally, I feel like that I waited until I met the right person. And so that's made this whole chapter made me feel like I'm on cloud nine. It's definitely weird that all of a sudden you have a whole identity. I thought I'd kind of run away from it, but like, because I love him and I love the life we're building, I've actually totally embraced it. It's definitely complicated to change your name. Like we had this situation where we deposited some checks we got for our wedding, and when we were on our mini moon, the bank put a hold on our account for fraud because it said like payee, not on account. Like I've told everyone, like, before you deposit any checks you get for your wedding, which is like pretty much only the boomers get checks, give you checks, but change your name, merge your bank account and then deposit the checks. Like I learned the hard way. That was something that no one told me prior to the wedding, but we were worried about the weather and some of the other elements, and we just had 3 perfect days. I would love to know your honest take because obviously you were there. And I
Yeah.
think it's so cool that we met, like started working together here in Tampa, the Bucks brought us together, and then I was at your wedding in Hawaii, you were in mine in Tampa. So now you returned the favor, and I would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, it was amazing, right by the water. It was at the Rusty Pelican in Tampa. It was amazing, a great venue, Whitney. And Aaron and I were talking like, wow, if we did it in Tampa, like we would have liked to have done it there too.
Oh, I'm honored.
So great location, great pick. One thing I will say, very unique that I haven't seen is the walkway up into where you get married, that having like the football field there. Whitney, outstanding. It was so fitting. The cake as well. That was my second favorite part was the cake. It had University of Florida, it had the Buccaneers, it had what you all are passionate about. And then the third, my top 3 favorite moment from your wedding was the
Legos.
Lego pieces that showed where everyone sat at. Outstanding. I mean, those are 3 items that I saw at the wedding that I haven't seen anywhere before. So congrats. That was awesome.
Thank you, thank you. And I'll just say, like, the 2 points of feedback that we got were thank you from people for the convenience. So we had people stay at the current hotel, which shared a parking lot with the Rusty Pelican, and it was just so nice. And like, we have been to so many weddings where you're on buses, you're going from this point to that point to this dinner, and you're all over, and it's exhausting. It's very draining for people. Or you have to fly to the middle of nowhere and then rent a car and drive 2 hours from some remote airport. And we didn't want to do that to people. Like our priority was making sure it was a great experience for everyone else. And so having the convenience of the Friday night welcome reception we had at the hotel, Saturday and Sunday were at the Rusty Pelican, and people just could pop back and forth. And I think that they appreciated that. The other thing I'll say is that it was important for us to have the wedding be an amplification of who we are. We weren't trying to meet a certain, fancy standard. For us, it was we wanted to share our hearts and what we were passionate about. And I think our authenticity hopefully came across in the vows. Like, we just kept it very real. But I had this idea that one night, like, oh my gosh, I've always, I really want to get married starting at the 50-yard line and have that be my aisle and then get married in the quote unquote end zone. So sure enough, after everyone else walked down the aisle, we had someone literally make a football field aisle, and I started my walk at the 50-yard line, and I felt like everyone like sharing the surprises with people that we had been working on. Like no one knew about that. No one knew about our Lego seating chart. You mentioned the cake. We didn't even see it until the day of. I literally cried. I was dressed as Tom Brady, but a wedding dress, and Chad was Tim Tebow. And it looked so much like us. Shout out to the cake girl. And so it was just, and our cocktail napkins had the messages that Chad sent me when we were dating. And you have to tell me, but like, weren't they kind of hilarious?
Whitney, they were hilarious. And then Whitney, I will say, your pin game is insane. I mean, I know Chad, right, sent you those messages. That was his pin game. But for your vows, Whitney, like we were up there rolling. Like and one of the guys that sit next to me was Eric Dungeon. He was like, I didn't know Whitney was as funny. I'm like, she's a comedian. She's a comedian. So, like I said, pin game was insane. Just the thoughtfulness. of the wedding and some of those surprises, those Easter eggs that popped
Yeah.
up for the crowd. That was very well done. So
Well, I hope you
uh,
guys had fun now that you have a baby at home. And also, I heard your wife had to go to like Shanghai the next day or something. Like, thank you for being there.
absolutely, absolutely, yeah. We had to make sure to tell her company that you can't have events the week of Whitney's wedding, so
Yeah.
we did it the
Hello.
weekend.
I'm surprised it
It-
wasn't on their calendar in China.
so it worked out. It worked out. But yeah, Whitney, that was really magical. And yeah, Whitney, any other thoughts before we bring our guest on, just from the wedding? Like anything you want to share
I mean,
for
I
those
think
listening?
we'll keep everyone posted. I'm sharing my, wedding advice as I learned that situation with the checks in the bank account, big deal. But I mean, I say we transition from one football to the other football. So why don't you kick it off by introducing our guest?
Yeah, so I'm excited to bring our guest on today. I met this guest. It had to be maybe 5 years ago. I'm just spitballing, but probably 5 years ago. It was at the Black Sports Symposium in Atlanta. We connected there. I told him what I did. I was like, "Yeah, I'm working at Visa, and in this Visa Champions program." He's like, "Champions program? What is that?" And so send him the link. Little do I know, like a couple of years later, like Amobi is like knocking at the door at Visa. In the team's channels, like he's there and he found a way to get accepted. So without further ado, I want to introduce Amobi Okugo, one of the brothers at Visa champion. And Amobi, man, thank you for joining us. And Amobi, I just want to read this off, but you're a former pro soccer player. So please share with us, what teams you played for. Also, you have coined this term, the multi-hyphenate corporate entrepreneur. And so I would love to double click into that because Whitney was one of the first people that I thought of when I met Amobi. When I saw that term multi-hyphenate corporate entrepreneur. Whitney, I feel like she embodies that as well, or used to when she worked at ESPN and some of these other companies before starting her own. But Amobi, welcome to the Energy Captains podcast, man. Thank you for joining us, man. How you feeling?
Nah, feeling good, feeling full of energy.
Yeah, yeah.
Hearing y'all speak, it's a pleasure to be here. And for context, I had known about you two for quite some time because Kelvin Beachum had gave a shout out about some of the things that y'all have been doing. So when I first
Awesome.
started, some of the things that I did on the athlete empowerment, Kelvin had mentioned you, and then Whitney in terms of like a good combination of people doing it the right way. So then
Wow,
we
I didn't know
finally got
that.
to meet in person at the Black Sports Symposium, and it just like everything clicked. So now we're here. So it's funny
Wow.
how worlds collide.
Amobi, you already made our day. I mean, it sounds like Cam, you didn't know that either. I didn't even know Kelvin Beachum knew that I was alive. So to hear him like use us as an example, like that is such a, we always try and do the right thing and we follow a path that feels right to us, but it's really meaningful when, other people use it as a testimonial. You feel like then you've really made a difference.
Yeah,
Yeah,
most
that's. I mean,
definitely.
and also too, Whitney. We did see Kevin Beachum at the Super Bowl at Radio Row. We were talking to the Big Brothers, one of the Big Brothers community, and we saw him there. So, but Whitney, that was after Amobi joined Visa, though. So Kelvin must have mentioned that way beforehand because I think that Super Bowl was 2023,
Yeah, and also we
and
met him. I remember that we met him really quickly, but they were having, someone from I think Big Brothers Big Sisters interview him, and it was like a, hi, we ran in there, it was on Radio Row, and so it was such a quick interaction. I really can't believe that if that was the moment that even that stuck with him. So that's really cool. Thank you for sharing that, Amobi. You made us feel really good.
Nah, most definitely. That's what it's all about. It's crazy
Yeah,
how small the world is and how things come full circle. So,
I
yeah,
uh,
always say that all good people in this industry tend to know each other.
yeah.
it's a small world. And what I will say, talking about being a small world, the Moby, let's talk about. I want to talk about the corporate entrepreneur part, but let's talk about the corporate side first in Visa, the Champions Program. What your journey's been like. I've been at Visa for 5 years. I know you're going on 2 years at Visa. I feel like, and so, what's your journey been like there so far? With the other champions as well. I feel free to tag in some of the other champions as you share your Visa journey.
Yeah, so for people not familiar, I know you went through the program too. So Visa Champions is a wonderful program that basically allows for professional athletes, um, what's the best way to, an immersion experience into the
Mhm.
corporate world. So instead of diving in 2 feet in, you dive in 2 feet in with like a life jacket, as I like to say.
Yeah.
So we do 3 8-month rotations, and right now I'm towards the end of my rotation, so I'll either roll off or find another job internally or externally. But I think the biggest thing with the Visa Champions program is that it's just you get a great immersive experience with Visa. And Visa, obviously, it's a top company. It's a very sticky business. It doesn't matter if you want to do risk, legal, compliance, marketing, sponsorships, payments, fintech. Like Visa has a role or a space or a pathway for you if you are proactive and want to do that, and it's been a great experience. So far, been on the global product affluent team. I've been on a commercial solution sales team, and I'm currently on a product team for our loyalty and points division. So I've been able to see a whole spectrum of different opportunities, a lot of cross-functional roles and responsibilities, but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it, and I've been able to not only build my network within Visa, but also just develop some skills that I needed, maybe some fine tuning or needed to unlock because I had them, but I didn't have them in the corporate setting. So yeah, it's been a great experience, and I've done it along with my cohort. So Andrew Wheeler Omanu, who's also a former soccer player. You have Colette, who just got married, so I don't know her new last name, but she was a former rower who's doing amazing things at Visa. You had Whitney, who was the first WNBA player to be part of the Visa
Right.
Champions program. Jamel, who's a former football player. Uh, and then also we have, damn, why am I forgetting her name? Um,
Is it? Is she a skier? Is one that's a
Cassidy.
skier? Yes.
Cassidy. So she's on the soccer team. She represents the
Sorry.
United States on our um, on our Paralympic team.
Women's
So
soccer team.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
yeah, woman. So it's a good group. Everyone gets along, and and we're hoping to like iron sharpens iron. Everyone comes up together.
And
Yeah.
so I'm curious where you're located. And then again, this is something the average person is never going to get to be a part of. So, what is the application and interview process like to ultimately land this opportunity?
Okay, yeah. So I'm located in SF. So I report to the SF office. I actually live in Sacramento, so I commute
Ooh,
to
how
Two
far
hour
is
two
that?
hour commute.
yeah, it's like an hour and a
Each
half, 2 hour
way?
commute each way. Yep.
Do you drive?
Sometimes I drive. Sometimes I mostly take the train, though.
Oh my gosh. So,
Yeah.
what time do you leave? What time do you get home?
Oh yeah. So a normal day is like I leave my house around 5:30, and then I get to the office 8:45, 9. Um, and then I leave around 4:35. If I work out, then I'll probably leave around 6, 7, and then get home around 8:30 to 10.
Okay, and why are we doing this? Is there no housing
So
close by?
I have my mortgage in Sacramento, and then when I originally got the job, I was like, I don't want to sell my spot, so I'm just gonna figure it out, and if I like it, then I'll just get like a condo or apartment in SF, and then I'll just have double duty. But I had to be financially responsible because I still have my spot in Philadelphia where I played during my professional career. So I was like, there's no way I'm paying for Philadelphia, even though I was renting it out, but it was empty, and then paying for my mortgage, and then
Yeah.
getting, so I had to be fiscally responsible. But I've since sold my Philly spot, so I'll potentially, depending on how things work out, I'll end up getting
I'm
a
so
location
relieved.
in
I'm so
Oakland.
relieved we
Yeah,
can't keep having you go through this. Although it is a good amount of time to listen to Energy Captain's episodes. You could really
I
get caught
like
up
that.
on like the whole show
Exactly.
in one day. Oh
Exactly.
my goodness. And is that 5 days a week?
No, it
Oh,
is
okay.
2 to 3 times a week,
Okay.
depending on your manager. I know we have return to office protocol, but with there's still some stipulations that allow you to not have to be fully engaged in the RTO. So it works out.
Okay, return to office is RTO.
Yeah.
What do you
Oh,
do?
sorry. Yeah.
What do you do on the commute, just out of curiosity for
Yeah, I'm listening to audiobooks, podcasts, or if I'm on the train, I can get some work done. So
okay,
uh, the train is super helpful. When I'm driving, it's mostly I catch up on calls and podcasts, audibles.
got it. And so just kind of give us a quick recap of your professional playing career, and then I'm curious how you knew it was time to transition from soccer into maybe the corporate world.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, grew up playing soccer, basketball, soccer. I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to play at a high level at a very young age. So, ended up going to UCLA, and after my freshman year, I went pro. So, I originally got drafted in 2010 to Philadelphia Union, spent 5 years there, signed a new contract with Orlando, bounced around after that between Orlando, Kansas City, Portland. Ended up being a free agent for a year and then signed my last deal with Austin Bold in the second division. And I always tell people it's like once you start getting picky about where you're going to play and all these different stipulations, that might be time to hang it up. And I was always already thinking about stuff like I had already started a couple of ventures while I was playing. And yeah, I guess it was games were fun, locker room camaraderie was fun, but it's just like the day to day.
That's for the kids now. Leave it to
Yeah,
the
exactly.
youth.
If I could just show up for the games, I would have kept playing. But the decision kind of happened for me because the Austin team folded, and I really loved Austin. I would have kept playing there, even though second division. Obviously, I was trying to get back to the first division. It just never happened to the standard that I wanted. So I had a good final year and I was like, all right, I'm turning a certain age. I want to be able to transition smoothly. Let's make the decision now. It didn't really have a lot of fanfare. Wasn't trying to do the whole kumbaya, just on to the next. And that's kind of how it worked.
And do professional soccer players, like, is it like the NFL where you have agents and they call you with opportunities and you say, okay, you have this X amount of contract and
Yeah, so my agent, he was like, "Yo, this team wants you," and I was like, "Where? Nah, I can't do that. Yeah, I can't do that."
yeah,
So
no, no, no.
Yeah.
after I moved around 5 times, 5 different cities over the course of the 12-year career. So I was just like, it has to be the right and nothing. I mean, I was just being picky, and when you're being picky like that, you're finding excuses. So it was
That means
time.
you got to do it on your terms, which is cool.
Exactly, it
Did
worked
you
out.
have one favorite experience or maybe one experience you didn't love as much? Just like in general, when you look back on your career, what are the moments that stand out?
To be honest, every team I played on was amazing. I think Kansas City was the biggest surprise just because you think of Kansas City as a flyover city.
Mhm.
But even though I didn't play that much because I was injured for a majority of my time there, the people, the team, it was just a pleasant surprise. I mean, Philadelphia, I'm always going to have a special place in my heart for them. Portland, just from the fan base, just an amazing atmosphere. But Kansas City was just like the biggest surprise and a pleasant surprise at that. So I guess I'll give them their shout out. Shout out.
Yeah, I feel
Moby,
like, go ahead,
oh,
Cam.
sorry, Moby, I just wanted to ask you, what made you set roots in Philly? I know you got drafted in Philly, but like, what made you be like, hey, I'm gonna get a crib here. This is the spot. And the reason why I asked you that, like, if you were to do it again, would you set roots in Philly with like your mortgage and everything like that? Because a lot of times the young athletes, they're ready to buy the car, the chain. You bought a crib, thankfully, so you went in the right direction. But why Philly? Would you do it there again?
No, so honestly, I would not do it again. Just because, as an athlete, you're always like they say, once you buy a house, you're about to get traded. So if anything, I would have bought somewhere where like after where I thought I was going to settle in after my career or back in my hometown. Like that would be my suggestion for anyone as an athlete that's looking to like invest in property, either buy where you're looking to settle post career or buy in your hometown, just because you're always going to have some sort of roots there. But for me, it just kind of happened. I had been in Philly for 5 years, or that was my first team. So I came in as an 18-year-old young boy, kind of developed and evolved as a young man. And I was renting the spot at the time, and the landlords were like, "Yo, just give me a heads up. We're looking to sell, so you're gonna have to." And I was like, "Oh, I mean, I like the spot. Would y'all sell to me?" Not really like looking, and it just kind of happened like that. And a year later, ended up signing a new contract with Orlando. But in hindsight, I probably would have used that money to buy back in Sacramento.
And how does the draft process work for pro soccer? So you played for a year, is there, or in at UCLA, as you mentioned, is there a minimum amount of time that you have to stay in college? And then were you expecting to be drafted, or was it a big surprise?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So you can get drafted at any moment. Obviously, in soccer, the draft is not as prevalent as it is in NFL or NBA, and there's no requirement in terms of if you go to college, you have to stay a certain amount of years.
Okay.
Um, Soccer in America is still like trying to catch up on a global level. So there was like an enticement program sponsored by Adidas called the Generation Adidas program that
Okay.
enticed young players or underclassmen to go pro in exchange for reimbursement of their college education. So that's what kind of uh, was the springboard for me going pro. I
Okay.
had a certain amount of interest, and then the Generation Adidas talked to the agent that I was working with and suggested I would be a good prospect, good candidate. So I knew I was going to, at the very least, get drafted. I ended up getting drafted with the sixth pick overall. I
Wow.
didn't
Oh
think
wow.
that was going to happen. I wasn't initially projected to go that high, but things happened where I had a good combine. I guess they looked at my tape. Things
What's the
just
combine,
happened.
Moby? What's
Uh,
the combine like in soccer?
it's not NFL. So we basically
Okay.
just like we
Not the
meet up.
underwear Olympics?
Yeah, so we kind of just have like a series of scrimmages with the top prospects that have either entered their name in the draft or are going to be a Generation Adidas, or our top prospects that coaches want to get like another look at, but they haven't necessarily declared, and go there. But I ended up having like some good games, and I think I shot up in the draft that time.
Wow. And like the sixth pick in the NFL is like in the 30 something million range. I assume that's your contract was also.
Yeah, that's funny.
Got a
Uh,
hearty laugh. Got a hearty laugh on that one.
Yeah, right, right. We're
uh,
just trying to learn about different industries and hopefully, soccer will continue to be on the up and up. So you all are there at some
World
point.
Cup's coming, so yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, soccer's growing, but I
right.
mean, the sixth pick, if I was the sixth pick in the MLS and it was somewhat like a fraction of what the NFL gets, I probably wouldn't be on this podcast. You'd see me like in Tulum or the Bahamas somewhere,
I
but
see, I see. But
nah,
is
but
it
it's
like,
good.
do soccer players, do you get a bonus? Is it enough to live? Like you don't have to share your financials with us, but give people an idea of just in general, like what that means for your lifestyle.
Yeah, most definitely. So now I would say the average soccer player, if you play, like if you played, I played 12 years, eight in MLS. If you play 8 years in MLS, you'll probably walk away with, if you're smart with your money and in terms of career earnings, you'll probably walk away with anywhere from 2 to 5 million. If
Okay,
you're like a starter,
that's
if you're a
amazing.
starter consistently. Um, I was started in MLS in 2010. So fortunately, I was fortunate enough to make a six-figure salary throughout my career. Um, but that wasn't, I was Generation Adidas, and that kind of helped me be in a higher performance bracket. So we do have bonuses. I got a signing bonus for being part of the first round. I got a signing bonus for being a Generation Adidas contract. But the average salary when I was playing was 70,000, just because you had the senior minimum. They're like the mean between the highest salary player and the lowest salary player was super big. Whereas
Uh,
now it's still super big, but the lower end of the salary has gone drastically up, if
Got
that
it.
makes
good.
sense. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I would say you have some breathing room once you're done playing if you have at least an 8 to 10 year career.
That sounds way
Obi,
better than sitting in an office.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I
But the
want to
thing is,
ask
you
you,
say you can sit in an office for 40 plus years. You can only play for a certain amount of time, depending on
that's
if a coach likes you or not.
yeah, and Bobby, I want to ask you like about the World Cup, right? I know Team USA
So,
they just got announced recently. Were you ever close to like being on the national team? Yeah, like what were your thoughts about that whole experience a couple of days ago with Team USA getting announced?
yeah, so I was a youth national team mainstay. So all the way from U14 to Olympic cycle.
Oh
Unfortunately,
wow.
our Olympic cycle never qualified. So that was the closest I got to the national team.
Wait, what does
So I
that
made
mean?
it.
Your Olympic cycle never qualified.
I would have been on the Olympic team, but we didn't qualify for the Olympics.
Oh,
So
talk about
uh,
timing. So
yeah,
sorry.
we lost in a qualification, so we didn't get to go to
Mm,
London 2012. So
wow.
it's still a bitter pill to swallow. But I was part of every every national team cycle for each age group, each level. Just I never made it to the final. I never made it to the penthouse. So
Uh,
But
yeah,
now you're part
so
of it at Visa. You just get to go in a different capacity.
exactly. So it all works out. But that was one checkbox that wasn't checked off when it comes to career, but very close. I got the Olympic cycle. I was part of like the pre camps, but never got that national team full
But I
team camp.
almost think it's like hearing your story, there's so much success and like wonderful things that have happened. I feel like it's almost good to know for other people that there was like a huge disappointment and something that was out of your control and there was nothing you could do to move the needle. Like it just wasn't in the cards, but that's okay because then you had other experiences that maybe other people didn't. Like each person has their own path.
Oh, you're exactly right. Yeah, rejection is just redirection, and
mm,
I know we can all attest in our careers, like there's been times where I've got cut, I've got injured, I've got traded, but it's led to something better, whether it's on the field or even off the field in a personal life. So I just feel forever grateful and always trying to look at the whole field versus like the lane I'm in.
what's the craziest cut story or like trade story that you've been a part of? Mine was on Hard Knocks when they like, of course, they record you getting fired and then going
Yeah,
to the next team. But like, what was
you
your
got to
favorite?
send the episode. I didn't see that
I'm
one.
sorry. Cam forgot to mention that it happened twice.
Two times,
On
brother.
Hard Knocks twice.
On Hard Knocks. Well, okay. I made the team the second time on Hard Knocks. When I went to Buccaneers, I made the team that time.
Okay.
But the first time, LA Rams in St. Louis, we're St. Louis, Missouri. You talked about Kansas City being a great city. I doubled down on that. The barbecue, the people, great. Um, we make the move to Los Angeles. I'm back home in LA. I'm like, this is great. I'm going to make the team. Didn't make the team. Went to the Buccaneers after. Like a year after that, Buccaneers had Hard Knocks. It was me versus like Riley Bulla, good guy. Who's going to make the team? The 3 year veteran or like the rookie, you know? And I ended up making it, which was great. And they aired me getting fired on the Rams Hard Knocks, on the Buccaneers Hard Knocks. So I'm glad they saved me on the first round, but then they kind of aired it out on the second one. So yeah, quite the experience.
They just look
That's-
for where Cam is gonna get
yeah,
cut,
that's what I'm
and
saying. You
then
got a
that's how
career in
they decide
acting.
what to film.
And then of course both
That's
teams go to the
cool.
Super Bowl the years after I leave. So it's, yeah. But yeah,
That
what about
works.
you, Amobi?
You
Yeah,
got
what
the
about you?
Midas
What
touch.
Midas
Oh,
touch?
so I would say the craziest one, and it was the fuel to like spark my like career. It was the U17 World Cup. We were at the last camp in Germany. This was like the last camp. Everyone knows like the roster is going to be announced after this trip, and I didn't make the U17 qualifying team, and that was like the spark. So from April to whenever, I would say August, because I think the World Cup was in September. I was probably one of the top players, like just vengeance,
Yeah.
but it wasn't enough. So on the flight back, Coach John Hackworth, and I'll tie it all in after, but John Hackworth was the U17 men's national team coach. and he made cuts on our flight back. So we're all chilling at the terminal, waiting, just like everyone's eager, like, yo, is anyone like, when do we find out? When do we find out? And we have a long layover. So we're just chilling. Me and my buddy Nick Millington, he was also one of the last people cut. Let me say we're alternates, but no one wants to hear you're an alternate. It means you're cut.
Yeah.
So while we're waiting, because we have a long layover, Coach John Hackworth starts getting people and talking to them to one-on-one. So he talked to somebody in the airport. The guy comes back crying. I said, "Oh, he's making cuts right now." So me and Nick are like trying to like avoid, like get out of his eyesight, like yo. So me and Nick,
he won't find you.
Yeah, he won't find me. Me and Nick, we're one of his good. We're good buddies. We're like, yo, we gotta just hide in the corner and like act like we're like asleep. So we're like, yo, if he's gonna cut us face to face, but ended up ended up having that conversation. And like, once you get, you're not gonna make it. Everything else, like you're just zoned out.
Was everyone allowed back on the plane if you got cut? Like, are you stuck in?
So we all flew back. So everyone's flying back. You got some people like crying, emotional.
Oh,
some people are just like, yeah. So it was a tough one. So
wait, I want a reality show on like this whole process. Like, I want to be on the plane, and we're not talking like a plane like Tampa to New York, like a few hours. Like you're in Germany. Like those flights are not comfortable anyway. Now finding out like you have to be with like your coworkers who got the final rows, and then you're like cast away. No, thank you.
Yeah. Wow. So it was tough, especially like being at that age. But so didn't make the World Cup for the U17. So that was probably like the one that I guess stings the most. But so 2 years later, the assistant coach for Philadelphia Union is John Hackworth, and he was a big advocate for me getting drafted with the 6th pick. So it's all full circle. When I get drafted, he was like, I remember my dad always tells me this. Coach John Hackworth had spoke to him to the side. He was like, yeah, crazy how we're here now. I remember, cutting your son Amobi and telling him to use it as fuel. And he definitely did that and more. So just things that happen. We talked about earlier, like that rejection just leads to redirection. And sometimes you need that as a fuel to go to the level that you can reach.
Thankfully, you didn't cuss him out on Moby, because he would not pick you top 6 if you cussed him out after that.
Well, and we always talk about like find the boss who sees the world the same way you do. Find someone who thinks you hung the moon. And it just goes to show that he was still the right person. It just wasn't the right moment, but he believed in you so much that when it mattered even more, like he chose you.
Yeah. So yeah, he was a big part of my career, both in those tough moments and then getting drafted and then even making my breakthrough at Philly. Because the first couple of years I was playing, I wasn't, I was playing, I wasn't. And then he ended up getting the head coaching job and he was like, yo, you're ready. And so he's a big testament to my career.
Amazing. Shout out to him for sure. We love people who open doors. I'm curious now that
I still make fun of him though for cutting me.
Yeah, right. In an airport, I feel like maybe he could work on his firing skills.
Yes, that's an HR thing. Like, hey, buddy, you probably shouldn't do that anymore.
Maybe he could take a little off the fastball and wait till we land.
Yeah.
And that you're not in public with all your other. I mean, brutal.
Right?
Yeah, he should stick to soccer and maybe not HR. But I'm curious with Visa, like, will you be involved at all in the World Cup, or how does, like, now that you're in a different capacity, like, will you get to go to games, or what's your involvement going to be?
That's a great question. That's a Cam question. He has the plug at Visa. Cameron knows everyone at Visa. So I do have a little bit of overlap with the teams that I've been on. The global product Affluent, we do a lot of cross-functional work with some of the teams that are doing stuff with FIFA, obviously, because it's a really big asset that Visa has. And then currently on the loyalty and points team, I'm working on a couple Visa adjacent projects. But in terms of like, yo, we know you played soccer, Visa, soccer, FIFA, big sponsor. We want you to go. No, it hasn't. Not yet. Haven't got that call.
It's a sore spot. We need similar to like the Super Bowl stuff. You know, it's like
I totally get it.
Whitney gets it. She gets it.
I totally understand. Okay, so well, you can be our personal broadcaster, like we will watch your show. So on this podcast, tell us what we should know, like the average viewer, what we should be excited about, like help us get pumped for the World Cup or just even familiar.
No, most definitely. I mean, first and foremost, it's going to be one of the biggest World Cups known to date. I mean, the last time the World Cup was in the United States was obviously 1994. This World Cup is expanded to 48 teams, which is great because you're going to be able to see more nations, more cultures, more styles of play. It might, I don't want to say drop the level because of teams that may not have had the opportunity to qualify before. But the World Cup is all about bringing the world together through the greatest sport in the world. Sorry, Cameron. Football.
Respect.
And U.S. has a good team. You
How
have the
good
likes of
though? How good though, Amobi? Because you know
good
how we
enough to
do.
go. I would say, yeah, good enough to go to the quarterfinals.
Okay.
Whether or not they make that happen, that's up to them. But you have the likes of Christian Pulisic, you have Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams, Chris Richards, top players that are playing at a high level that can hopefully lead the team to at the very least, the quarterfinal. Um,
Are you friends
uh,
with any of these guys from your playing days?
so I'm aged out. This current cycle is a lot of younger guys.
Got
The
it.
only one that's still playing that like came into the league or playing when I was around was Tim Ream. So he's actually in his second World Cup cycle. He was actually we were in the same draft class. He was a steal. He was like a late first round, second round pick, I believe.
Is he a goalie? Is he
Uh,
a goalie or what position is he?
he's a center back. So he played at New York Red Bulls, did extremely well there. Played in Europe, played in England for quite some time, and then he's currently playing in Charlotte in MLS. Great player, strong left foot. Just a super smart, cerebral player. Not sure if he'll be a starter this time around. He's a combination of like a veteran presence, but also can get the job done. But
How
yeah,
about
US
Miles
should have a good
Robinson?
squad.
Do you know
Miles
Miles
Robinson's
Robinson?
top
He's
player. Yeah.
Syracuse guy. Yeah.
Yeah, Syracuse guy, top player. Um, Obviously, he did his thing in Atlanta. He's currently playing in Cincinnati. He's going to be a top player. To
Cool.
expect to see a lot of it out of him. But from the world standpoint, Cristiano, all but likely his last World Cup. Lionel Messi, all but likely his last World Cup. Neymar, all but likely his last World Cup. And these are probably the three greatest superstars of the last 15 years, 15, 20 years. So to see them on home soil in a World Cup is going to be a sight to see.
Why was Neymar crying so much in Moby? I mean, of course, like it's an honor to make the World Cup team, but like it seemed like that cry he had in his back it was a little bit different. Is it because of is his last one, or does he think he's
Yeah,
phasing out? Okay.
yeah. So it's probably going to be his last one. He's dealt with a lot of injuries, and you got to think of Neymar. He's been the top prospect since he's been 14 years old, and a lot has been put on his shoulders. He's been coined like the prince that was promised to Brazil. And some people say like the prince that never became king because he hasn't won a World Cup. And
Mm.
Damn.
Brazil, obviously, they have the most World Cups. A lot has been put on his shoulders. Albeit, if Neymar's career were to end today, he's probably still one of the Brazil's greatest all-time players. He's led Brazil to a semifinal in home soil. He's led them to their first ever Olympic gold medal in soccer. He's done everything from a soccer standpoint except win like the Ballon d'Or, which
Mm,
is a
that's
voting
tough.
contest at the end of the
With
day.
Messi and Ronaldo playing, it's hard to win with the
Exactly.
yeah. It's like
Exactly.
Jordan and
So
LeBron. It's like how can I win with Jordan and LeBron
yeah.
playing at the same time? Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
It's like Jordan LeBron and then Kobe's jumping in. Like some people are gonna
Right.
say, but it's tough.
you hit on
So
an interesting point or analogy for me. It's kind of like how they've expanded the March Madness bracket, where you're
Mm,
like, oh, maybe
exactly.
there's some talent that's not exactly top tier, but you get those Cinderella stories, you get
Exactly. Yep.
those, exposure to the Florida Gulf Coast and the, guy who
yeah.
walked out last year with the boombox and he was the team manager and became. So I feel like maybe we'll get more of those human interest moments just because, there are teams that maybe are new or were invited, not necessarily, they wouldn't have made it in past World Cups, but they'll have cool stories because they're getting an opportunity this year that didn't exist.
You're exactly right. Like two countries that come to mind are Cape Verde, who's never
Cape
been to a World
Verde.
Cup, and then Haiti, whose last World Cup was over 40 years ago.
Oh
So
my
those are
God.
two countries that are gonna just show out and show up in a big way. And like this is what the World Cup's all about, to expose the world to different cultures, whether it's through soccer, obviously, in light of the world geopolitics, this is just going to be a great opportunity for everyone
Yep.
to come together. And obviously, during those 90 minutes on the game, we'll be enemies. But other than that, everyone's going to be
Yeah.
friends and get along.
You have to love the underdog who's just happy to be there. Like, how can you not be
Yeah,
touched by that story and this opportunity that's going to change their lives, and they may not have had it if the field hadn't expanded.
exactly.
What do
So
you
I'll be
think?
going to
Question.
games, just not through Visa.
Okay. Well, you'll have to keep us
How
posted. Like I said, you're a broadcaster. I'm curious
Most
what you think
definitely.
of the crazy ticket prices. I feel like that's been a huge news
Good
story.
question.
Yeah, it's a great question. You know, the great thing about sports is that it's accessible to anybody and everybody. Like especially soccer, all you need is a ball and some space, and you can play. And we want to make sure it's accessible from a viewing standpoint. So maybe not behind so many paywalls, but then to at least experience it. It's very tough to see what's being going on, um, because these are memories that are supposed to be made. And if you can't access it, it's already tough because it's across three different countries: Canada, US, and Mexico. So for a fan that wants to support his team, for them to ask them to go from Mexico City to LA to New York, that's already a tough ask. But then to factor in the ticket cost, you you're destroying the essence of what the beautiful game is all about. And
Yeah.
obviously, you know, a lot goes into it and you do have to make some sort of profit, but at what cost are you, you know, ruining, commercializing the sport versus like making it what the sport is all about.
Thank you for
So
What
speaking to the
else?
average person who like couldn't buy a ticket and like making us feel seen and validated, like, oh, I want to be exposed, I want to be a part of this, but like it's cost prohibitive.
you know,
Yeah. Hey, well, I want to ask, like, what else? Okay, we don't have to go too far because I know Visa's a sponsor of FIFA. You played soccer. I think you're on the board for one of the FIFA things as well. Is that how you're going to the game?
yeah, so I'm on part of the U.S. Soccer Athletes Council. So through them, I'm able to get access to games. I still have to pay, but I'm able to, instead of putting my name in the raffle and different things like that. And then, fortunately, similar to Cameron, I know a couple people that know a couple people, so I was
Uh,
able to pull some strings and get some tickets through other mechanisms. But as we talked about earlier, if you don't have those resources or access, how are you going to get access to the game? And
do you know which games you're going to?
yeah, so I'm going to all U.S. group games.
Okay.
LA, U.S. versus Paraguay, U.S. versus Australia and Seattle, and then U.S. versus Turkey. And then I'll be going to a Brazil Scotland game in Miami, and then I'll be going to Japan versus Netherlands in Dallas.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
with
yeah,
more
that's
to
it.
be determined.
Will
So,
you do you have social media that will you be sharing your experience so people
oh
can
yeah, I'll be sharing, I'll be vlogging, I'll be tagging everybody. So
Okay, what are your accounts so people can follow along?
oh, thank you. So I'm at Amobi Says. I usually talk about stuff around athlete empowerment, sports business, my life, but and some soccer stuff. So yeah, be on the lookout at Amobi Says, AMOBI says
On all the
SAYS.
platforms. Okay, cool.
Yep.
And that was a perfect transition because in our last few minutes, I would love to know, you say you're a multi-hyphenate entrepreneur. I would love to know your definition of what that means, all you're involved in, and just in general, what you didn't know as a professional athlete that you've learned now working in the corporate world.
Oh, that's a great question. So, yeah, so I always was, as an athlete, I never wanted to be boxed in or just like, oh, he's a jock. That's how he got this opportunity, or because he plays sports. So I was always like just trying things, side hustles, ventures, informational interviews, externships in the off season, because I didn't want there to be any excuse. It's one of the reasons why I got my degrees while I was playing, so that when I was done, there wasn't like, oh, he just got a handout. And
Mm.
through that, I was able to like just develop some skills and learn that, you know, some of the things that I learned while playing have allowed me to do things that, you know, you probably didn't need to go to school for, people go to school for, whether it's marketing, branding, sponsorships, CRM management, uh, legal, like looking over contracts. So it was more of the mindset of like jack of all trades, master of none. And I was like, no, 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 y'all got to hear the whole quote. Jack of all trades, master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. So
Ah, I've never
yeah,
heard that second part.
yeah, people don't want
Yeah.
to tell you about the
Mic
second
drop
part.
moment.
Yeah, so that's where the multi hyphenate came in, and then corporate entrepreneur because similar to just the jack of all trades, corporate with the visa, but I'm not like a 9 to 5 sit at the desk all day type of guy,
Hmm.
and yeah, so I'm just always dabbling in my entrepreneurial ventures. I recently,
What are
while I was
those?
playing,
Yeah.
I started a Frugal Athlete, which was an online financial media platform basically highlighted athletes that were doing smart things with their money and smart things with their career. Because, as a soccer player, more than likely you're going to have to work after you're done playing. So, what are the playbooks and pathways that other athletes are doing that we could follow? Because success leaves clues. And that's kind of how I started my venture building, I guess. Um, it was motivated by watching the Broke documentary. And I was like, oh, there has to be athletes that aren't on the broke model
Right.
and
Right.
out and that's kind of how it started. So in terms of my ventures, Frugal Athlete was the start, but now it's since morphed into Surf Consulting, which is like an athlete empowerment and education company. So we do workshops, speaking engagements, programming for athletes, organizations, centered around like athlete empowerment or using sports to build life skills. And then outside of that, I do like partnerships, programs, and platform building, whether it's for athletes, brands, and organizations. So if an athlete's looking to, build out, I know Cameron, I talked to you about some things, looking to build out a business or an enterprise or needs career transition advice. We do some consulting there from a brand perspective. If they're looking for content, talent procurement, different things like that, we help out in that aspect as well. And then from an organization standpoint, programming, community events, we can help manage those projects.
And I'm curious, I know the NFL sort of, as social media has evolved and just maybe more programs have come about, I think a lot of athletes, at least in the NFL, have started talking more about business, investing in businesses. Like that has become the culture. Is it that way in MLS locker rooms too? Or were you the one who stood out?
Yeah, so I would say when I first came into the league, I was probably one of the ones that stood out. But as I started veering towards the end of my career, it was common, like practice. People were talking about it more so from a soccer perspective. People tend to talk about like the real estate versus the venture and the angel deals, but they still were talking about like business and financial moves in the locker room, which was great to see. But I would say not to even not to brag or anything, but I was a big advocate and a leader in that trailblazer in that space, at least during my time.
It sounds like you're very much the business coach to the athletes.
Yeah, tried to be. Yeah, so it's been good. Just trying to be a resource. Not to say I have all the answers, but I can at least put them in the right directions to find more clarity, to ask better questions, so that they can find answers on their own.
And I'm curious, sorry, I was just going to ask, how did you educate yourself? Because it sounds like you were the one teaching others. So where did your knowledge come from?
Yeah, so a lot of reading, a lot of informational interviews from people that have been there before. I mentioned Kelvin Beachum. He was someone that I came across early on as I started a Frugal Athlete, as like he's probably one of the better top three NFL or athlete investors, just
Mhm.
based on his track record, based on his network. So a lot of informational interviews, a lot of relationship building, externships, educational, executive education courses. There isn't like a course that like an athlete education course that I haven't done or I know the people that have started it. And then just doing the homework. I would say that's helped me educate. And I'm always trying to learn because I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything. So just yeah, a lot of work.
Yeah. And Moby, I know we're talking about the entrepreneur side of this, but I know we're wrapping up soon as well. I wanted to ask you. I know you're a coach as well. You coach soccer, or you used to coach. When it comes to coaching women in the sport, I want to talk about women's soccer really quick. Women's
Yeah.
World Cup is coming up this time next year. Um, we saw the pay increase for women's soccer as well. You got the whole Trinity Rodman, that whole thing. She's
Yeah.
flashing. Like, yeah. What are your thoughts on the game of soccer when it comes to women in the game?
I think it's amazing. If you look at youth sports, like from a number standpoint, women soccer players is probably the highest in terms of participation.
Mm,
Unfortunately, women, when they reach a certain age, it tends to fall for whatever reason, injuries, burnout, um, lack of safe spaces for those women. So
mm,
now with the pay increase to make it a viable option post college is great. Now that we're seeing them on TV as a way, as like a pathway for younger players to look up and say, I want to be like Trinity Rodman when I grow up. I want
mm,
to be like Mallory Swanson when I grow up. I want to be like Lindsey Horan because they're actually seeing them on TV. It's amazing. I think the women's soccer players specifically, they do a great job of being trailblazers and being front of camera and
mm,
showcasing their careers both on the field and off the field better than a lot of their male counterparts. And now that they have the ability to make the means to support themselves and not have to play and then work and then coach and then do other side hustles, and they can like really focus on their sport, which allows them to perform at a higher level, recover quicker, do what it takes to be a professional athlete 24/7. It's amazing to see. And obviously, the US soccer women have been at the upper echelon in terms of talent,
yeah.
but the other
Compared to the
countries have,
men.
yeah, compared to the men too. But on a global level, the countries, because of the better infrastructure now and the investment, other countries are catching up. So now you're seeing a more level playing field across the board from women's soccer, and it is not, you're not just seeing that the top countries dominate anymore, which is great because now you're seeing, you know, um, France and Spain and Nigeria and the Philippines women's team made it to the World Cup. So now you're seeing it from a global standpoint versus just like the US and the Swedens and the Germanys that were, good before.
I feel like too, a rising tide lifts all boats, and women's
Exactly.
sports are just so much more in the forefront. Caitlin Clark, when there's interest in one sport, then I think people naturally also turn to other sports, and it's why brand building is so important because people get attached to other people and their stories, and so having those particular advocates who you mentioned, I think really helps people follow along because they're invested in who they are as people. They want to follow their heroes. But it is interesting because I think one thing that stuck with me as you were talking is that a lot of times the men can go out there and just play their sport, but for women, you have to be the athlete and you have to wave the flag at all times of being the representative of your sport and to get people to care about it and to make sure that you're, in all ways, just representing your sport in the right way, but that it's like you have to be the athlete and the advocate and the marketing, whereas a lot of men just go out there and play the game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and
true.
I want to add in too, like even thinking about like Serena Williams, right? How she changed the game of tennis, and then like now her and her husband they're investing in women's sports. So now that they're more visible and they're fighting to have those things front and center, so it is really cool. I don't know, Whitney, do you have any last comments for
I
Amobi as
had,
we go?
yeah, I had one last question. Obviously, you are interested in so many different things and you've had so many careers already by this point. I'm curious, for lack of a better way to ask it, what you want to be when you grow up, and it's okay if there
I
are
like that.
multiple things, but like, what is it now that you've dipped your feet in a lot of ponds? Like, what is it that you really want to pursue now that your future is really sort of the business side of things?
Yeah, that's a great question. I appreciate you asking. I say I want to be a growth operator for athletes, brands, and organizations. So I would love to be the person that people come to solve problems and provide solutions. Whether it's building a framework for them to increase their revenue, but more so you know procuring partnerships that make sense and create win-win relationships. Uh, what capacity that looks like, I don't know. I think at the moment, my vision is like a operating partner at a sports private equity firm that allows for the growth operations for the companies that we acquire. But in any capacity, if I could do growth operations for athletes, whether it's helping them build their enterprises or brands, helping them build their talent stack and obviously their revenue, or organizations to help them integrate into communities from a social impact perspective, that would be
Let's
like
kiss.
chef's kiss. Yeah.
Okay, so basically, for any athletes out there, and we're absolutely going to share this episode, and hopefully lots of athletes will listen to it and hear it between our networks, but you are the athlete Gandhi. So whatever it is that athletes need help with, they can come to you and you can improve their lives.
Yeah. So I like one thing I did, I was helping an athlete find a chief of staff. And a buddy of mine was like, yo, I know you're trying to help me find, like, I connected him with the buddy. He's like, how come you don't take this role? I was like, well, first and foremost, I can't because the bandwidth, but you would like knowing this guy and knowing what you do, you are the better person for the opportunity. So like different things like that. So I like that. Yeah, athlete Gandhi tagline. That's cool.
You're like everyone's dad.
He said, "Call him on." No, I'm just kidding. Amobi, what's your superpower? How have you developed that? That's my last question for you. Yeah, how you develop?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. I would say, damn, what's my superpower? I would say, I don't know if this is a superpower, but super observant and knowing how to facilitate what I learn into like an idea or a connection. I don't know if that's like a superpower, but yeah, I'm able to like pick up. And I would say actually my superpower is making people feel comfortable because people like confide in me, and whether they know I have the answer or not, they're always willing to ask me. I just make people feel comfortable to open up.
Nice. Because it sounds like you listen, and to be fair, not everyone listens. People hear, but they don't listen. So the fact that you have a power of listening really well, making people feel comfortable because you're understanding what they're saying and applying it. And so they're like, "Dang, he's actually taking notes and he's actually aware of what's going on." So that's a big deal.
Well, and I think a lot of people don't necessarily care as much as you do. Most people don't have as high of an EQ, emotional intelligence. And I also think then you take the action. Like you care enough to make the connection, to take that next step. Whereas I think a lot of people just sit back on the information they receive, and you actually care about making a difference in other people's lives and just making the world better with everything that you hear and learn.
Thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah, no, it's true. Well, you're a superstar. We appreciate you coming on our podcast. You definitely, you are one of the energy captains, and I learned a ton about soccer and can't wait to follow along throughout your World Cup journey because you're going to be our eyes and ears at a lot of these games.
Okay. We're still hoping maybe Cameron can hook us up with some ticks.
Hey, we'll see. I'll send a link if I get. Yeah, I'll send a link if I get it. But until then, man, Amobi, thanks for the knowledge. Thanks for taking the time. I mean, it's an hour out of the day on what is it? Wednesday. It's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
Yeah, on a Wednesday. So man, we appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to having further conversations, whether it be at work or offline. So man, we appreciate you.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate you both, and congrats on everything y'all's building. And yeah, Cam, obviously, I see you from time to time in office, so it's cool.
Yeah, whatever we can do. Like now, like I said at the beginning, it's like all of a sudden we're one big family, and how do we ever live without each other? And it's just like so pumped for, how we can make each other's lives, better. So hopefully, as time goes on, you'll come back on and keep us posted on everything. But your story is amazing, and I think you're going to inspire and help a lot of people with your energy, your outlook, your positivity, and just all the different things that you've done.
Thank you so much. It means a lot.
Awesome. All right. Take care. Thanks for coming on.
No, most definitely. Talk to you soon.
Peace.